How about that?
Yeah, good one. 2 seconds, huh?
That's
yeah.
But I have an intro.
No, this is his professional intros to curse and get us demonetized immediately.
Right.
I have an intro ready.
Intro, step 1.
I wasn't looking at the time. Oh no!
You should be.
I mean, seriously, with trigger finger here.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
it's not her fault. The robot makes us go live at 11. So,
right.
I mean, if even EG is paying attention to the time, it's like, come on.
I always pay attention to the time. The difference is everyone likes to pretend that I'm not.
But I was in the middle of a Blizzard rant. I lose all sense of time when I do that. Anyways, hey there, and welcome to While We Weren't Recording, the show where we peel back the curtain and dive into everything except the Dresden Files. Today, we're delving into Aeronaut's Windlass Part 5. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube and Patreon, and more on that at the end of the show.
Why are you lying to the people? Because we
I
definitely.
know. I'm so excited to talk about Star Wars and Marvel and all the other shit that I get told on a weekly basis. I can't.
No, Dune. It's Dune
Firefly.
It's because the rest of you haven't seen.
Yeah, there's still a pending fight, isn't there? Like, wasn't somebody saying shit about Dune being overrated? So
that's Cody.
Was that? I thought.
Yeah, it's always Cody. Cody's always the one
looking
saying
at you because I thought it was.
But I
was like,
well, which Dune are we talking about? The book, or are we talking about the movies?
I think it was the movie. Yeah. So, but either way, I mean, like, look, I'm not going to defend the whole series because, like I said, I haven't read it, and it gets weird from my understanding. But the movie's about as good as you could hope for. And if we're going to talk about like adaptations, let's not, because then I'm going to have to rag on The Last Airbender. Because holy crap.
I'm only watching bothering with
that.
They had their chance with the movie, and I'm not even bothering with that Netflix show. There's not a chance in hell.
You probably shouldn't. Like the first episode is okay, and then after that it gets off the rails. But
I watched the first 1.5 episode, and then I went to bed and didn't continue yet for the other day. But that was like, oh, this is really faithful.
Part of the problem is like after the first episode that I watched, like I found an interview from the showrunner, doing his whole mea culpa. We adapted it, but there's just certain things that just don't translate to live action, and we can't do every fight scene and we can't do it justice because then we'll blow our budget in the first episode or whatever. It's like, cool. So why are you doing it? Like, if you're not going to do a good job and you can't do it justice, then what are we doing here?
Because you like the thing, and it's a thing.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Sign up to Netflix and today.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it's a good thing we're not talking about.
We're already way behind the curve.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it starts with an F word too.
It does.
It's thematically relevant.
I was just like, that's a big F.
So. It is a big F. Yeah. We are 43% through. Let's see how far we go. We start chapter 29.
I think 47%.
Bridget's point of view. Bridget has been sent off with Folly and Raoul to go find the local cats of Habel Landing, and she says, 4 weeks ago, this sounded crazy.
Oh, okay. So this isn't the one where they get attacked by the spiders, and that's when the F word comes out. So yeah,
not quite yet.
If anybody gets an F bomb, it's Folly, and it's when the spiders come pouring out of the ceiling. Like,
So. Actually, if you want to just put the screen up and you can like scroll it so that our dedicated viewers can just read the book along with us.
They can read with us. Yeah. Welcome to While We Weren't Recording, the Read Along podcast.
While we weren't reading. I say that, but none of them can read.
That's you can't say that. That's the people who put bread on our table.
They can't understand English either, so it's fine. Yeah.
That's pretty mild from him, so I'll allow it, I guess.
Also, nobody's here, so what's the difference?
There's 3 people.
There's
almost as many as we have hosts.
Someone's already right now typing in chat and gonna do. I'm here.
Good. That's the whole point, is to rouse them, kick the hornet's nest, or in this case, the trio. One of which is probably the character.
Okay. So
Folly. F word.
Not quite yet, because Bridget's mostly going like, where has she gone wrong in life to be wandering around Habel Landing with a crazy person and a jar of crystals and a cat? And she's like not really sure Raoul is even looking for all the local cats, because he keeps looking like, ooh, that smells good and that smells good. Go get me that food.
Right. It's ironic she says that because she's like 3 of those 4 things, you know,
Yeah.
like a crazy person, a cat, and wandering around Habba Landing. And it's like,
And food, depending on what's looking for them.
right.
Yeah.
Another 4-letter F word.
Yes. But he says, those dumplings smell really good to me. Therefore, I want to be closer to them. And his logic is it's going to smell good to the other cats too. So that's how they're going to find the cats, by finding places that smell good.
I mean, I can't find no fault in that logic.
This is how we'll find Andreas if he gets lost in New York.
If you get lost, if you can't find me at Costco, I'll meet at the food aisle. Like in the food mart or whatever it's called. Where you get the pizza. Never
I was going to say, the food aisle is like a lot of aisles.
The whole
in Costco.
Right.
Where
It's like a third, you know.
where
You
the
got to
eat
get
now
your
food
appliances and your canoes and your snowshoes. And if you're not in Utah, your liquor aisle.
I actually got this
you
shirt
know,
from
so-
Costco.
Nice.
It's a really good shirt.
I saw a guy eat Costco hot dogs for a week, only Costco hot dogs. Which he said, like, that's a great savings on your food bill because it's so cheap. And I was like, man, I'm jealous. Living the dream. Costco food.
What he didn't factor in is the cost for the membership, though. So
It pays for itself
each-
after 30 hot dogs.
I was going to say, like,
I think
each
you
of
need
those
more
hot
hot
dogs
dogs
was
than that.
$10. So, yeah.
Yeah, like, how many days can you eat just a hot dog? If you had 3 a day, I can't do math, and I
No,
don't remember how much it
just-
costs anyway. So
Folly, F word, Bridget, dumplings
Yeah,
smell
okay.
good. Raoul
Yeah.
would eat a hot dog. We get it.
Folly thinks that Bridget and Raoul are hilarious in her own way because she like leans down to her crystals and say, "Oh, she spoils the cat," because as Bridget is grumbling and buying more dumplings for Raoul, it's still, of course, Raoul is being spoiled.
It is his too, as a prince of his people. And generally just being a cat.
And Raoul says, "It is a privilege I do not give to just anyone." Folly kind of, she has her spidey senses in her own way of like, it's here, it's watching us something or other, but Bridget can't understand Folly yet, cannot understand that Folly cannot talk to her directly. So when Folly says, "We would tell Bridget about it if we could," is a cry for help that Bridget doesn't understand yet. And the other people that she had seen around, of like the Bayard had come to visit Grimm and Folly had recognized him somewhere around there. And
Why can't she just say to her crystals, I wish I could tell Bridget's things, but I can't tell Bridget things. I have to talk to you instead.
She kind of does, actually.
But
right?
just like that.
She's like, "Oh man, I
straight up.
really wish somebody would point out to Bridget this thing that I'm going to point out to Bridget." in the
Because
third
that would
person."
be what
Yeah.
would be called on the nose.
Right.
So you do the
Yeah.
slightly more conversational version of a crazy person talking to a bunch of glowing rocks.
Folly has what we would call in the business a quirk. So, just saying. It doesn't have to
Folly.
make sense. It's literally the definition of crazy,
Folly whispers to her jar, "If she keeps repeating everything I say, this is going to take much more time."
Right? See?
Yes.
She just doesn't preface it with, "Man, I really hope somebody would tell her that if she repeats everything that I say."
Yes. And Bridget gets it slowly, kind of slowly, of just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, so there's danger around." And Folly can kind of get this. And Folly then feels like, "I feel awful. I'm going to sit down." And she just sits down right in the middle of the ground, in the middle of Habba Landing, looking like a crazy person with a jar of crystals.
She's not looking like a crazy person. She is a crazy person.
She both is and is looking like the thing that she is.
She's just not in the right artist
That's-
commune where she wouldn't be a crazy person. She would just be normal.
Right.
All right. And Bridget is now kind of learning the concept of the quirks because, like, I see that Master Ferris has issues with doorknobs. She doesn't know that the Master is far too brilliant for such things. And then she's like, "Okay, the crystals, the jar, it's super important." Let's see. And then, unfortunately, Raoul was right. And a cat did come to smell the dumplings. And then there's cat diplomacy, which is running up near to each other and then ignoring each other. 4 hours. So Raoul and the other cat
Hours.
just sit there and like groom themselves, look away from each other, but they're very, very aware of each other. 4 hours.
This isn't the Whisker, right? This is somebody else.
The
No,
other
this is
prince, I
someone
think.
else.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Non? Anyway.
Neen Mall.
Yeah.
Neen is
Neen.
Mal. Yeah,
Look-
kid of Non.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and says, "Is Folly also? Can we like hurry them along?" And Budget says, "No, you cannot hurry cats. It does not help." All right.
Well, you could. It just wouldn't work out.
As they're waiting for 3 hours, towards the end of it, Bridget is asking Folly, "Is like, does Folly understand what Master Ferris's grand plan is? Did he like share the whole everything with her?" And Folly basically says no because he's more brilliant than that.
Operational security, it's called.
Yes, and so the punchline of this is like that means that Folly doesn't know what she's looking for either, even though that's why Ferris sent Folly with Bridget. It's like, yeah, but Folly will know it when they do see it.
Right. Yeah, it's one
Well,
of
Ferris
those
knows
like
that.
yeah. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know I'll know it when I see it, which honestly Master Ferris is kind of doing the same thing, right? That's why he's got to go change his mind.
But
Because
also,
No, he just wanted an excuse to get drunk. Let's be clear.
right. Day drinking. Looking
He told
good.
the, he
Ferris also
told the
knows the
crystals. They just didn't tell Folly what the plan was.
Right.
as also Ferris knows the futures. He knows that if he sends Folly in that direction, she will get the pertinent information. He
Look,
knows
man,
all of that. Like it's like when
I've
you
seen
have
enough
future
old masters
playful-
like, why don't you go wander off in that direction until adventure finds you? Like, I can read between the lines here. I see the tropes. Ah, yes, I've seen the future, and it's that way. Your destiny is over there, so I can go over here and day drink.
That's
I
what
just need
makes
a
them
break,
master.
Folly. Okay, like just a half a day.
Yeah, they don't call him Master Ferris for nothing. So
So they know that the Aurorans are using some form of spies, and are they maybe using the cats as spies? And Folly is very certain, no, it's not the cats. It's not the cats. Like, okay, so it's something from the surface, and eventually we'll get to the spiders.
Yeah.
But Bridget has to have a panic attack about the idea of anything from the surface, which the first time you read through this book kind of seems out of nowhere because we're learning how scary it is, the surface from their point of view.
right.
We haven't seen the spiders yet, not really.
Yeah.
So we don't know how bad they are.
Bridget's only had the pulp films and the histories and stuff like that, right? And like, why do you think we built a 2 mile by 2 mile tower where we live? Because it's safe, like.
Because this place is being run by day drinkers.
Well, that too. I mean, but come on, like the Spire Arc drinks mimosas. That's classy day drinking. It's okay. So,
Sure.
Yeah,
If
as
he,
soon as
if
you
he was
add
drinking
orange juice to it,
screwdrivers, he'd be bombed.
right? Yeah.
I want mimosas. Damn it!
Okay, so you can be the
At least
classy
she's not
one.
going for the day drinking. She's just going for the straight up morning drinking. Or
I mean,
Look,
early
it's
after.
it's 11. It is absolutely acceptable brunch time.
I was
Okay.
going to say that's like,
So
Oh, that's
is
perfect
brunch time.
mimosa time.
11 to
actually.
1. That's brunch.
exactly. Yeah.
You just get on Indian mimosas.
Let's get mimosas after.
After what, Costco?
Yeah.
You can
Get
buy
off
the
there, Jose.
prosecco and the orange juice right there.
You could.
Yeah. Can you sit
You
down at the
could.
food court
Not
and
here.
get some hot dogs and then
But
drink
then
it?
but then that would
with
deprive
mimosa?
you of the ability to go to a restaurant and pay $25 for eggs in the process. So,
The true American experience, right there.
$25 for eggs? God damn.
This little bit seems important. Bridget says, if the Aurorans are truly playing with that fire, it's only a matter of time before it burns them. And Folly says, I once had a dream of the world, and it all burned.
downer.
Yeah. It's totally not foreshadowing. It's fine. So,
Yeah.
The world was on
Uh,
fire.
and it wasn't my fault.
And it was
Wasn't his
Ferris's
fault.
fault because he was
His fault.
fucking drunk.
Right. Yeah.
Chapter 30, we get to Ferris getting drunk. The thing that we've been waiting half the book for because it's so much fun.
I would
so
like
Benedict
to think we've
is
been waiting our whole lives for this. Deep down.
Benedict is fetching the drinks, and Gwen is sitting and drinking tea, which she's unhappy that it is tepid, even though they have honey. And she says, "I'm quite certain a gentleman does not simply attack a drink so." And Ferris like, "No, he does not, but I'm not a gentleman."
Right.
Isn't that great? And Benedict gets to the table. He's just about to sit down, and Ferris has already drunk his drink and sends him back to another one. And so then Benedict comes back with two of them because he'd like a chance to sit and drink his own.
Yeah, because future planning.
Yes. A man who
learns.
plans ahead. Foresight. Always foresight. It is the first trait of any formidable person at all.
Yeah.
Yes. And Ferris is drinking so much that Gwen, not quite getting the plan yet, that the point is actually to be drunk, is just unnerved a bit.
Right. Yeah, because she's all proper, and you drink sociably, you drink at gatherings, you drink whatever. You don't just get drunk. That's losing control. We can't have that, you know. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I think the whole, what is it, the Black Horse Inn, like the whole section is like one of my favorite sections of the book. Like you get pure Master Ferris, you get, I wanted to call them the twins, but they're cousins, right? You get the cousins just like, semi out of their depth, but Benedict is just writing it and Gwen is trying to write it,
This is a moment of real growth with Gwen because like
Yes.
even she's unnerved that he's clearly getting drunk, but she goes forward a couple of steps in the thought process and she says, "I take it that you're not obliterating your good sense for no good reason." And just like he turns to Benedict, like, "Doesn't miss much, does she?" Despite what everyone tends to think, no, I think she rather enjoys letting everyone believe she's too self-absorbed to notice anything that's happening around her. No, not a bit like your mother. Can't have that. And then he explains that there is a reason to his madness, at least in this moment.
I think, I don't know if we've passed it or if it's still coming up, but like one of my favorite lines I even wrote down from my notes is like, "You're getting drunk." Well, I'd rather be drunk than eaten, I think. So, or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, that might have been when they were preparing to get
when they were preparing to go.
Okay. Yeah.
To get eaten.
But
right.
Yeah. "You must understand something of what we do, or this will seem like foolishness." And by we, it's etherealists. Like, yes, the nature of how they feel and their minds and their decisions. And that's exactly what he's trying to change all the time. But he kind of goes, of course, in a roundabout way. Simplifying a monstrously complex concept to its bare core, but we sense etheric forces. Most people do in some degree, though they rarely realize it. And then he starts talking about the gauntlet and the fact that the crystal on the gauntlet, on the palms of their hands, feels different to each one of them. And Gwen has always like, well, of course it just feels a little bit cold. That's always what it's felt like. That's always what it feels like to everybody. And then Benedict, no, it just kind of tingles a little bit like a nerve thing. But the fact that it feels different to them is something that never occurred to Gwen before this moment.
Yeah, it's fun because this is pretty deep philosophy, right? Like if you're looking at red, do we all see the same red? Right. We all feeling something. Are we all feeling the same thing? And canonically here, red. No. Yeah.
Right. And Gwen says, "Well, that sounds like nonsense. Something is cold or it isn't." I had no idea and interest in philosophy. She doesn't understand what she's just stepped into.
And she's not nearly drunk enough for this conversation.
No. Right. And also she's 16. She believes she has a very strong understanding of the world.
I mean, she does. She will never get a better understanding of the world than she does right now.
There's the two kind of 16-year-olds, and they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. There's the angsty, and then there's the ones that know everything, and we know which one.
She is the one that knows everything.
Well, she's A because she knows everything.
She is a 16-year-old Lancaster.
There's definitely a Venn diagram where it does overlap somewhat, but
she's sort of the Keira Knightley.
I was definitely that 16-year-old.
Because you know everything.
Yeah.
Edgy who thought I knew everything.
I was going to say Andreas found out how much that I know, and a little bit this week. He peeked behind the veil, so I was like, think about that the next time I tell you I'm fine. So
Everything's good.
we were talking about
Fine.
politics, so
Fine means a lot of things.
yeah.
Fine
No,
means,
it means
I'm not falling apart right now. Fine means I'm functional.
fine
I
means
mean,
I
I
appreciate
got
that
up
you've
in the
asked.
morning today.
I appreciate that you've asked, but I'm not going to tell you how I really am because there's not enough time to contemplate the horrors. So,
Boy, you guys are all missing out on the fine just being literally fine.
nope,
You should work on that.
What's
Nah.
that like?
that's boring.
It's it's nice. It's peaceful.
Man, you missed saying fine there.
No,
It's
I know what you wanted,
Yeah.
but I'm not your dancing capuchin monkey that just has an organ.
I know you're
Wanted
not. I know you're not. No, you're a swell guy. I don't expect you to be anything but your original self, but I mean, it would have been fun.
I am I'm fine.
There you go.
There you go. I brought it back.
Okay.
Alcohol.
I appreciate it.
If I look at a blue coat, I see a blue coat. The fact that I'm looking at it doesn't change that. And then but if you see blue, what if he sees green? And she just says that doesn't happen. How do you know? It's like, okay, so you're saying it's possible that when I see blue, he sees green. Well, not at all. He sees the color blue, but his color blue, which isn't yours. And Benedict
Or your
says
born head hurt.
it would do a great deal to explain the aesthetics taste of House Astor, you must admit. Right. And that's just talking about a simple thing that we always experience with color, but then you could get stranger with etheric or anything else. And she said, that sounds remarkably slipshod. I'm sure that God in heaven would not have created the world and its residents in such a ramshackle fashion.
She hasn't entered her edgy atheist phase yet, but we'll get there.
Not yet. Give her a couple of years in the fleet or something like that. Yeah.
Whereas Raoul, who is God, knows better.
He is that meme, right? He's sitting up there in the crow's nest. I see no other, was it?
Yeah.
No other gods above me or something like that. Whatever the meme is.
Yeah, he
You know
doesn't
the
see a
one.
god above him. So therefore,
Well, it's the joke about the difference between cats and dogs, right? You feed a dog, you take care of it, you give it shelter, and the dog thinks you're God. You feed a cat, you give it shelter, you take care of it, and the cat thinks it's God.
Right.
True. Saw a very funny little comic strip where the litter box is being emptied and the cat is suspiciously looking at the owner. It's like, why do you need so much poop? That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
all right. But Benedict kind of brings it back to the point of why are you getting drunk? Because talking about colors is all fun, and it was, but what's the thing? And onto that point, Ferris has drunk all of his beer again. So would Benedict please get him another? Your perceptions of etheric energy change from mind to mind, just as you, Sir Benedict, demonstrate with your weapons crystals. And if one changes one's mind, that also changes the nature of those perceptions. This will allow me to perceive those energies in ways in which I would not normally be able to do so. Think of it as goggles for one's mind instead of one's eyes. He's not necessarily trying to search out what he knows to be Cavendish, but he doesn't know her name yet. But he knows that she's searching for him. And so he's trying to be harder to search for. And maybe just see things in different ways and see all the different futures in different ways because he's constantly doing that.
I guess they don't have opium or weed in this world or mushrooms either, because otherwise he should just have those on him at all times.
Good point.
I'm being
He could have
tracked.
just taken a couple
Quick,
edibles.
the LSD.
Yeah. A flask. So
Yeah. Well, I could
Honestly-
easily see the monk people having something, but obviously
Right.
that option's gone now, or will be.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but I wonder if he would run afoul of censors for that. So I don't know. I'm sure there are books out there where it's like, ah, yes, our magic is magic mushrooms. So yeah,
I mean,
Why
if
not?
Tolkien and Lewis Carroll can get away with it, surely.
it was long bottom leaf. Okay,
Yeah, it
it was
was.
really fancy tobacco.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
just like the mushrooms were what?
I mean,
Just
tobacco also
mushrooms.
does change your perceptions. Like, nicotine does do things just like caffeine. I mean, like all these things that we ingest do things to our brains, just not quite the same level as acid or mushrooms.
And Turkish delights.
What?
That's in Narnia.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
literally just a candy and a very overrated one as far as I understand it.
Sugar is the most dangerous addicted drug there is, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
not true.
You betray your siblings for it.
Well, you do if you're a little British shit and you've got nothing in the time of World War II.
right.
Clearly, the most addictive thing is love, or
Oh.
something.
Nice. You wouldn't know though. So
I have vague stirrings on the matter once in a while.
Whoa! What the fuck?
You know those
Yeah.
little Be Mine hard candies that you get at Valentine's Day? I've had those. That's the same.
Ah, yeah, so
They're not very
That's the
good,
sugar.
but I've had them.
I mean,
I guess I just heard something completely different in the conversation. And I thought Justin was just roasting EG for being single.
I was. I mean, not for being single, for being
No, for having no
You know.
emotions other than like hatred and just
and
Smug
love
smash
for love for whiskey.
is smugness and emotion. So
I mean, onto whiskey. Ferris should probably just be drinking
Yes, he
liquor
should be just
instead
having
of
shots.
beer.
right.
He's
Like-
gonna have to
Right.
pee a lot here, like a lot.
It's
I know, just
possible. It's possible the kind of drunk matters, right? There's a difference between like beer drunk, he's still kind of functional,
But
whiskey
you're just
drunk,
less drunk.
What do
Well,
you
yeah,
mean?
you're
EG
just
is
less
fully
drunk.
Functional
functional, and
means-
he's drunk on whiskey all the time.
He needed to change his mind, not obliterate it, so he didn't have 4 tequilas and then get
So
on with
you
it.
can have one whiskey and drink it slower than you'd have the 4 beers. I'm just like, it's a lot of liquid, a lot of volume. This is why I drink liquor more than beer, because I don't have enough volume.
Yeah,
I just want to point out to the listeners who don't watch us on YouTube that EG affirmed this with a lifted eyebrow and a nod.
Which part?
just
Functioning on whiskey.
also
I can very much
clarifying
function on whiskey.
that Ferris is British and not Irish, and that might have something to do with it. So, just saying.
Yeah, Folly is clearly the Irish one.
Well, she has red hair at the moment.
Well, she talks to rocks. What else are you going to do in Ireland?
Jeez.
Also, that's where the leprechauns and the fairies live. So,
Well, the fairies live in Britain too. You think
they
Olenanchi?
they got
Okay,
expelled
you-
a long time ago.
Yeah,
The British were like, no, we don't do that anymore.
right.
Mm,
Why do you think they built the wall? Come on.
okay. And Ferris is having fun at this point. He's got Gwen on the hook in a way of like, okay, so she understands you're changing your mind in order to be easier to find him the enemy or make it harder to find yourself. And then he says, okay, extrapolate like a teacher of like, you've made a point and now you've done it. And now you volunteered yourself to continue more in class. But Gwen asks, why? Why do you believe that there's another person, like an etherealist, that's there? And Ferris says, it's complicated, or seem to remember it is at any least. He's forgotten already.
I mean, it's kind of weird though, because did they not have the discussion already, or do they have that discussion later where it's like, in order for the Aurorans to land, they needed a beacon, and the only way that's going to happen
Benedict
is...
says that right now.
Okay,
that-
yeah.
Yeah, the Roran fleet, their attack was precise, as if they'd had some kind of beacon to show them exactly where to go through the mists that cover the whole spire. Could an etherealist manage such a thing? And Ferris says, well, I dare say. So Gwen viewing now, she has an understanding of the wall in front of them and wants to go through. It's like, have you changed your mind enough to find this person? He's like, it would seem not, but it's not a question of distance. It's if we get closer, I'll be able to better sense it. Like, yeah, the distance does kind of matter, but it's also probably like a feeling of magical distance of like if Cavendish was really targeting him, but she was a mile away versus if she was not really thinking about him, but she's a block away, makes a difference. Yeah. And the cats will hopefully know where to start looking to be able to save time because Ferris knows that they don't have much and that they don't have the ability to have a search pattern. Ferris gets all weathered and wizardy looking and he says, there's never enough time, you know, which is something for him to say considering he sees so many possible futures all at once.
Right. Imagine having like, 10 or more timelines in your head and still not having enough time.
Yeah. And now Ferris says that he's drunk enough. It's time to wait and just kind of keep it going. So it's time to party. While he's partying, we go back to Grimm on the Predator.
Significantly less partying at the moment.
Well, at least at this point. Let's see. And Kettle has summoned Grimm out of his cabin, and Grimm also hasn't had enough time to sleep. But he's got that Harry Dresden type of problem. Just in no book is he ever going to be allowed to sleep more than 2 hours at a time. And the Mist Shark is there and requesting to have the parlay.
Parlay.
Yeah.
It's more like guideline than actual rules.
Yes, but Grimm takes those guidelines as rules very seriously. And Kettle is very unhappy. And it's like, what's she doing here? And it's like, well, I can safely assume it's unlikely to make our sleep any more peaceful. And Kettle's like, could it be that we have a problem with one of the guns? Could we have the problem right into their engine room?
Also, I think
terrible accidents, sincere regrets. We go to all of the funerals. Everything's taken care of.
I don't think it comes up. I don't think this line happens. So I would like to compliment Jim's restraint on never using the term Kettle looked like he was about to boil over. That I think is important.
Yeah. I don't think
he should be recognized for that. Considering
He's very cool
other
and collected
things.
under pressure.
Right.
He likes to keep a lid on it.
Yeah. He doesn't go whistling all the time.
Right.
Now, Mr. Kettle, I never condone such an action. At least not what can be traced back to the Predator. All right, make ready a side party. She'll be here to gloat in a moment. Could be that there's an accident with the gauntlet, sir. No. All right, but no one trusts the Mist Shark and her captain, and so everyone is ready to fire off something at a Barris Twitch. So it is Ransom, and we get to meet her. A lean woman of an age with Grimm, but half a foot taller, was coming down the gangplank onto the tier. People's heights in this book are kind of crazy, and I think that puts her at like
boots.
above 6 feet.
Yeah, she's got stilettos on. It's fine. So,
and a very big hat.
Yeah,
right.
The hat helps.
Yeah, her hat's bigger than
hard
Grimm's.
to walk on a plank or like on a ship, an airship.
This is fantasy. Are we going to really quibble about the reality here? Like, this is the most unrealistic thing. So, yeah. She could have like the thicker, I did say stiletto, but she could have thicker heels. That's fine. I'll retract it. So,
I mean, I know when I'm on a flying ship, I want to be in heels. That's just, especially one that could be engaged in close quarters combat at any given moment.
You just want to be Bayonetta on an airship?
I know that name because of the video games, but I don't know anything about her. So yes, I want to.
Well,
I was thinking him and Stardust. So
I think the boots would probably be lower on the list.
Her boots become guns. So
yeah.
That's like Planet Terror, where her leg gets cut off and then she
Yes.
makes a gun out of it.
Except Planet Terror, it's like, I mean, we're talking in completely different calibers of guns, but basically, yes. So,
Okay. But it seems like Santos, which is basically Kettle, or the first mate, is having the similar types of discussions with Ransom that Kettle is trying to say, because we can hear Ransom saying, "I absolutely forbid it unless you find a way to make it look like it was someone else's fault."
right.
Great minds.
Yeah. And see, her expression turned into a perfectly amused smile. She's wearing dark leather like an aeronaut. She does a very formal bow. And she says, "My dear, dearest, lovely Francis, you look absolutely delightful." There's one thing about these books is everyone calls Grimm a different name. He has 3 of them, and everyone calls him a different variation.
Right.
Yeah. And she
As long as
calls
they
him
don't go
Francis because it annoys him.
As long as he doesn't go with Frank, because that'll suck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been reading? I mean,
No.
No, but there's only so many directions you can go with a name like
Right.
that. So
yeah. Yeah, what does Bayard call him? Does he call him Mad, or is
Mad.
it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So,
Bayard gets to call him that because, I mean, he was mad. He did do things. Yeah, it works.
as long as he doesn't call him Mab, because otherwise
yeah, totally different.
copyright infringement.
Merlin's going to sue.
Yeah.
All right. There's a little bit of back and forth, and eventually Ransom is asking permission to board, and Grimm says, "Let's get this over with, shall we?" And he's very unenthusiastic, and that amuses her even more. "And I shall certainly wound you if you try to take anything that isn't yours while you're here." "Everything's mine, Francis. The only question is whether or not it knows it yet." All right. And she makes barbs at Kettle too. "Oh, sweet Kettle, does your knee still ache when it rains?" He says, and I make it feel better by breaking the noses of mouthy, sucker punching, welching, treacherous Olympian bitch." And Grimm says, "Mr. Kettle, shut up."
It's a
Captain
good thing
Ransom.
he didn't lose his cool just then. So,
"Ransom is my guest. You will maintain courtesy and discipline aboard my vessel. I shall terminate your contract. Do I make myself perfectly clear?" And of course, now that Ransom is coming aboard, they have to take off all of her weapons, which is a classic little moment of like, okay, well, here's the gun and the sword and the other gun and the other guns, like, and the knives in your boots and everything else that's hidden around you.
right.
And your scythe hat, and your poison feather in the scythe hat.
And there's that thing that's hidden in your back, and she says that's a flask. It is a lovely dropped. I picked up in Ethosia.
It's the most dangerous thing of all.
Where the hell's Ethogia?
Yeah, that way.
Yeah. Did you generally point west because you're pretty far east for us, so you wouldn't be wrong.
West is more that way. So I think I was more north. I was northwest. I'll take that.
And then Ransom kind of prods Francis over. "Should I strip out of my clothes as well?" She has a kind of almost like Maeve, like a mix between Maeve and Leah feel to her, especially when she's provoking Grimm.
No, I would have said Lara, but it amounts to the same thing.
Okay, fair. Lara does it a little bit more posh.
Can't all be, fancy about it.
Ransom, she's going to go join Grimm in the captain's cabin, and she says, "Don't bother to show me the way. I'm sure I'll find it in the same place." And Grimm is just unhappily watching her walk away. And he says, "That woman drives me quite insane." And Kettle's, "Why'd you marry her then?" This is one of my favorite lines in the whole book. Just, Why did you do that? Why would you do that thing?
Well, I just got kicked out of the Navy. I was feeling kind of bad.
Yeah.
Or
pretty much.
whatever the reason is.
No, I think you've gotten it. So they start talking, and Grimm says, "All right, Calliope, what are you going to make me regret this time?" So can't I pay an old friend a social call? Empirical evidence suggests that you cannot. But
Damn.
Burn.
Wrecked.
She says, "I almost certainly remember you having a sense of humor sometime in the murky past at the dawn of history." It's like, well, I used to have a lot of things, but go on, get on with it. And she says that she is double booked in a bookkeeping mistake. She has a job that she needs to do, but another thing that needs to be delivered to Dalos. But not a month ago, we stumbled upon a damaged Cortez-class merchantman, which was the one that the Itasca that, not the Itasca, the thing that happened in the beginning of the book that Grimm basically broke his ship on, and the Mist Shark got to take all of the spoils.
As you do.
Yeah. Right. And Grimm says, in theory, I should take a 90-10 split of the cargo. If he does the job for her, which is delivering either to the Kissam or Olympia, or she wants him to go to Olympia and split the net profits, but he wants 90% of the cargo's profits from it, because that he's doing her a favor, and so why not? And he doesn't trust her with a damn. Right. But he can't do anything. Not that he wants to help her anyway, but at that moment, the Predator is not skyworthy, so he can't actually go anywhere if he wanted to, which he doesn't.
But she is not of the Windlass, sir.
Mm-hmm. And so they escort Ransom off the ship, and then Grimm tells Kettle everything that happened. He's like, well, Kettle asks, so what did she lie about? He's like, I'm not certain. All of it likely. Said she had easy money job for us. And Kettle snorts. Like, precisely. Of course, we don't trust that. We told her no. But the Mist Shark arrives just as the Spire comes under attack. And are we to think it's a coincidence? Grimm never thinks of anything as a coincidence.
I can't help but
Foresight.
think that, like, tone of book, right? Now, each of you haven't read the second book yet, right?
Correct.
So I won't spoil anything as such. I'm just like, everybody else has read it. Like tone wise, or like the second one gets like, it feels like it gets like a lot darker than this one, right? Not like this one's like exactly bright and happy, but I really feel like the second book takes a turn. Or is it just me? Or maybe I'm just remembering the dark parts, because there are other parts.
I mean,
right.
There's a lot of brutality in this one, especially when you get to like the, surface creatures and stuff. But it's definitely ramped up, I feel like, in the second book.
No, how many books is this supposed to be?
6, I think.
I think we're at 6 at the moment, but he said he'd go as many as 9. So,
so I can't call it the second act low point.
Yeah, he definitely said that he was planning on going more than 3, because it was like originally it was like 3, 6, or 9 depending, and it sounds like it's doing well enough. And also, like, we still haven't even properly gotten into the war yet, technically, kind of. So he's kind of expanding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what you say, it was like originally he wrote it like he could finish it as a trilogy. If it did well, he had enough stuff to do 6, and now it's doing so well that he think he might even be able to do 9. Which, I mean, that's so that he doesn't. I don't want it to feel stretched out just because it's doing well. I want it to be like cohesive and good, but there's also so much to this world that's super interesting, and I don't mind it being like explored thoroughly, and then we just have more books, because I like the world building. That's my jam, right? I love that.
Right.
So little bit of history. As Grimm says, the Spyrox sends us down to landing to smoke out an enemy force, and it just so happens that by chance, the fastest ship in the sky is docked in the landing shipyard. And Kettle's unhappy, as a Predator only lost that race because Santos sabotaged our main Hasla cage. So regardless of how it happened, they have the reputation. She claimed the fame and glory. And like Kettle's like, do you think that she's working with the enemy? It's like, well, I am disturbed by the presence of inordinate levels of coincidence. Just disturbed. I want eyes on Miss Shark at all times, reporting anything, no matter how trivial. See it done. Oh, and after that, send Misters Journeyman and Stern to my cabin, please. Because they're going to do something malicious. It's great.
It's called Just Desserts.
So chapter 32, we go back to Aspira in the ventilation tunnels, trying to keep his own people in line, or at least distracted enough that they're not going to do something stupid. And he's done how many inspections on his people and everything, and he holds up a weapon, and he's like, you've allowed the copper to wear through right here. The iron rot's already begun. Can you see that? And a description of why do we clad iron and steel with copper, which is to prevent the iron rot from destroying the weapon. All iron can be susceptible to oxidization, but something in this world makes it happen super fast. And this is kind of one of the first descriptions that we get, that all of the, in terms of the caring for their weapons, as they must do all the time, coating it in wax or coating it in copper, they have to do it with such extreme precision.
It's like wax even mentioned here for the blades, or is that just a thing that happens in the second one? Because I don't remember the wax in the first one. It was just copper.
I feel like it just shows up in the second one. So.
Yeah.
Right. And to be fair, like it could be a difference between, battle blades and dueling blades, right? So
I think that it would be.
Yeah, because battle blades are more heavy duty, and you can afford to have them coated with a metal, whereas a dueling blade, is slender and light, so and longer.
So, once the iron rot sets into the steel, how long will it be before it spreads from this point and turns the entire thing to rust? Like a few days, give or take. Which at that point, the weapon will not kill whom you need it. If it shatters on the first stroke or snaps when you attempt to draw it. I don't mind if your carelessness kills you, but it might also kill your brothers in arms, myself among them. So go take care of your weapon again and again and again. And ordering all of his people to prepare for inspections again keeps them busy enough that it keeps their minds off it. It's something that he learned from Syriaco, who has returned. And even Syriaco says it barely looked like a real spot, but it's just the fiction that everyone's going to play with. And this is when Aspira learns basically what happened at the Lancaster Tunnel. Because where is Lieutenant Lazaro? Lazaro is dead, because that is the one that Gwen gauntleted it to the face. One of them was a pretty girl, looks like a porcelain doll.
I don't know who that is.
Raoul.
Yeah, right. Again with the boots. So
Aspira
but
recognizes that Syriaco is injured, but even with being warrior-born, he's still recovering from a gauntlet shot. But they're talking about Cavendish and what is she doing with the Verminosaur, because they can kind of hear him screaming in pain and all the terrible things. And we caught the one Verminosaur, not his partner. She's verifying the story. And is she using knives on him, is what Syriaco asked. And no, she took nothing with her. She's our mad beast. Be glad she's on our side. And Syriaco has enough sense of saying, no, I think I'd rather not. But Cavendish confirms that the Verminosaur was working alone, and though he believes that there will be a search for him in the next 24 hours or so, they can't disappear the body, because if he's not there, then they'll keep looking for him. But if they find the body, then the Verminosaurs will have a funeral and stop, and everything will be, at least the fiction will hold itself up. But as he's still alive, they don't want to like kill him in any way that is visible. They don't want to just stab him with a knife and then he's clearly been murdered. And so Cavendish says, send him up the ropes. Not more than a minute, or there won't be enough left to be identified. But Aspira can't stomach that, because we don't know what sending up ropes means yet, but everyone else is clearly nauseated by the idea. And Aspira orders Syriaco to break the Verminosaur's neck, so he's dead by the time he goes up to the ropes.
Which is ironic, because like sending him up the ropes usually means hanging, right? So,
well, down ropes maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
up to the gallows. But usually that has something to do with a drop.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're pulling them up, manual style. That's the thing about gallows and hanging. It's very versatile. You can go in one of two directions. And then when you're done, you can go in like a 360.
I was going to say you could do the merry-go-round and just...
God, how much would that suck? You're getting hanged and then they start spinning you around too.
If they go fast enough, it might be better.
I don't really feel like being nauseous while I'm being strangled. That's me.
Like
I think I'd rather just have one
enough.
or the other.
What they should do is they'll just attach you to a trebuchet, but only by the neck, and then they'll just fling your head 400 meters. So
joke's on them. They'll be left with the rest of me.
Yeah.
And not the fun part. The head's the good part. The head's where all the insight comes from.
Maybe that's why they only want the head. Back with Folly and Bridget, they get to wake up out of their nap because the cats have finally decided to move some amount. And Folly asks, like, who won? And Bridget has to describe, I think it was a draw, which is very unusual for cats. This is a formidable member of his tribe. Just our luck when we're in a rush to meet someone who could ignore Raoul for so long. And Folly says, should they stand up? Because, like, isn't that the polite thing to do? But, well, humans stand so much taller than cats. It's kind of rude to stand up when you can be sitting.
I mean, cat etiquette is important, you don't want him to get out the fighting spurs. Yeah, sure.
Raoul and Neen make introductions, and they give names. Like Bridget gets her real name of Little Mouse, but Folly does not. She doesn't have a real name, but Raoul makes claims on both of them, so that Neen must respond to them, I guess, or just whatever. I have heard of the 9 claws. They seem perfectly adequate. And Neen says, I have heard of the silent paws. I find nothing overly objectionable about any of them, which is a very large compliment in their backhanded ways. Bridget asks for them to be able to talk to Non, because it's a very odd request, and she understands that, but it is Non's place to decide for everything that's going on. Remain here. Non will see you, or he won't. Farewell. And then Neen just disappears. Cats are not to be rushed. On the other hand, it's rather difficult to slow them down when they've decided to start. So they decide to wait again. And Raoul says, you can wait. I'm going to take a nap because I'm tired after all of that diplomacy.
Had to lick my paw, then the other paw. Like it's tough going out there.
And a half hour later, which is much faster than the diplomacy took, they come back, and Raoul is disgruntled. Like, of course, now they are quick because he wanted to nap. It's almost like they have no consideration for others at all.
I
But
mean,
we
if
must
he's
show
like,
them-
if he would be like my cat, then he would have gotten a solid 29 minutes. He starts snoring real quick when he lies down.
Bridget's talking to Folly. He's like, let Raoul walk first. Stay even with me, shoulder to shoulder. Bridget's trying to protect Folly. And Folly says to her jar, don't worry, I'm here to protect you. Which is, she's trying to say that to the crystals that she's trying to protect, or she's trying to say that to Bridget, that Folly's going to protect her. I'm not sure. And they go through the tunnels and all sorts of different ways. And it's very easy to get lost. And of course, the cats are kind of trying to do that to show, oh, how difficult it is to get there. And when they get to this large open chamber of an intersection, they have a sense of a dais, of like a step stool of like different furniture. So Non is sitting on the top of a pyramid. And Neen joins him on the second tier of the pyramid. And Raoul's like, he has his own furniture? That's outrageous. What is he doing with those? Cats have no such need for things. He turns to Bridget, I demand a chair. I demand more furniture.
Right. Truly extravagant.
The Lords of Outer Meow. I thought that was funny.
You did, and that's good for you. Never stop believing in you. Actually, no, you can stop believing in yourself a little bit. That would be fine. Stay
I
home.
don't think I can believe in myself much less than I already do.
I have faith.
And Folly is startled by just how many cats are there. She hasn't seen so many cats in all one place. And oh, look, kittens, aren't they so cute? But Bridget pays attention to that, because why would they be having kittens in the same room where they have humans? They never let humans see kittens.
Then
Humans would do the most despicable thing of all, which is fawning over them. So
feed them so they can't take care of themselves and stuff.
God forbid the kitten will get spoiled.
Right.
So when that means, Bridget understands, it's all of them. It is all of the clan in that one room, because they are hiding. They are nervous. They're banding together for safety. And cats don't do that usually, but something must have changed. Yeah. Clan chiefs like Maul or Non maintained their position through a dense, complicated network of one-on-one relationships. They're building a general consensus, and when necessary, through exertion of personal pressure where possible and force when necessary. And getting all of the cats into one room is a coordination effort to be remarked on and unheard of.
Catnip.
Yeah. And Raoul and Non are going back and forth to each other. Bridget says, Lord Albion, the Spirarch, sends us to request your aid in the matter in which we believe only Nine Claws can help us. And Non is like, it speaks. And Raoul gets offended on Bridget's part. He's like, this is my human, Little Mouse, and it speaks of course it does. And she speaks, perfect cat. How dare you insult her, even though Raoul's going to turn around and then insult her. Like, you don't say it very well.
And pretty good for a human.
Neen acts a little bit like a shithead, and Raoul kind of swipes at his nose and tells Neen to respect his sire, which is Non, because this hierarchy is very strange.
I mean, everyone should respect Non bread. It's delicious.
It is delicious. And Non looks up at Bridget and how large she is as a person. It's like Little Mouse. What a fine name for her. And she grew more than was expected. How inconsiderate of her.
Right. I feel like he's being sarcastic here. So,
well, that was like, mouse.
Yeah.
There's something to be said here for naming people after small things and then not realizing they're going to get big. Why'd you buy the large brand puppy chow? No reason.
Non says very explicitly, Raoul Kit of Maul, you are a welcome guest in my domain. Only Raoul is a guest. Therefore, Bridget and Folly must leave immediately or the cats are going to attack them.
Which is just nonsense because they're his vassals. So by extension, the courtesy needs to extend to them. Like,
Nope. They don't work on Fae rules.
yeah.
Which is just as well.
But Bridget is kind of pleading, like, if you just hear me out, then I'll just explain everything. Of course, you should be on my side of everything. And Non says, I know why you are here. I know you seek to enlist our aid as eyes and ears in the coming conflict, and you will not have it. This war is a human war. It does not concern the cats.
Yeah.
We will go on as we have with whatever batch of humans rule this Habel. Very similar to the Temple of the Way. Like, we're not involved in the war, the politics that is the spire that we live in. The cats have a little bit more of a ground in that argument, I think. Bridget wants to argue and use logic and rhetoric about it, but Folly makes her stop and says, why doesn't Bridget see it? They are afraid. They are being watched.
And not just
Non says, you will be shown from this place and put on a path back to human quarter of the Habel. Show them to the ropes. And that's our hour.
Woo!
So we get to end on that cliffhanger.
Bum, bum, bum.
It's not a
Now there's
cliffhanger. It's a
ropes.
rope ladder.
Always leave them wanting more.
Who is them?
They. The
The-
infamous them.
The nice people who watch our show. So yeah, should I hit us with an outro?
Oh,
Or do you
I
have
really
any-
wish you would.
Or do we have anything else we want to add before?
We're at 50%.
Oh, I was close.
Woo.
I think I said 47%.
Okie dokie. Well, here we go. Thanks for tuning in to While We Weren't Recording. If you enjoyed our banter, consider joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/brokenjars. By becoming a patron, you'll unlock exclusive access to our Discord server, where we wage gift wars and chat about anything and everything. Also, remember that we stream these episodes live on YouTube every Saturday at 13 EST and 1900 CET. Visit our channel at youtube.com/The Dresden Files Podcast Show. Throw us a subscription, leave a comment, and give us a like. It means the world to us. And don't forget to check out our website that needs to be updated at brokenjars.xyz.
That was a 6 out of 10. You told a lot of lies.
Got some notes there, but okay. Good job. Good attempt. J. Ray would
Try
be proud.
it more American next time. Just shoot off some guns in the background or something.
Got some notes. You do it.
It didn't have nearly enough yippee-ki-yay and cowboy nonsense, apparently, for these guys. So